Championship round 5 done, complete, transfer window closed, international break incoming. Here are my hot takes. 1. Nothing lasts forever. Yes, that's right, boys and girls. All good things and bad things sadly must come to an end. And 3 of our most talked about streaks ended in round 5. Leicester's winning streak, done. Sheffield Wednesday's losing streak, done. And the magnificent goal every game scoring streak of Norwich's Johnny Rowe, done. We'll start with Rowe and Norwich, and even though he didn't get a 5th goal in 5 games, he did set up Norwich's goal at Rotherham. The Canaries were 2-0 down at this point, ended up going under 2-1 to the Millers for their first win. Even though Norwich have the brilliant Rowe, this was the first game without Josh Sargent. Rotherham took full advantage. There seems to be caveats with all these streaks ending, by the way, and the story of Sheffield Wednesday's first point is probably going to be more the story of Leeds not turning some very good in-game data into goals and a win. But let's focus on Wednesday. Xisco definitely thrown in the deep end. Look, first point, first clean sheet, and surely something to build on over the international break. And what about Leicester? Not only did they not win for the first time, they lost 1-0 at home to Hull. We've said they kept coming out on top by a single goal in a coin flip of a game. Not this weekend. Look, the early nature of the goal probably distorts the numbers slightly in terms of game state, but the Leicester winning streak comes to an end. 2. Saints shocker. Now, Southampton had seemingly navigated relegation, a delayed managerial appointment for the contractual staff, and a pretty intense transfer window as best they could. But just when things looked like they were about to calm down for a couple of weeks, Sunderland 5, Southampton 0. If ever a game went perfectly, then this one did for Sunderland. A hot start in front of that hot crowd and an early goal. 2 more goals from strikes from the edge of the box. Apparently part of the plan, that. A first goal for Dak, and then here comes the wonder kid. Chris Rigg gets the 5th. Southampton, 68% possession and a 5-0 defeat. How about that? Sunderland, well look, they absolutely nailed it and probably don't want 2 weeks off now. You'd imagine this is not going to be the new normal for Southampton and Russ Martin. Is it a blueprint for those facing the Saints to follow? Well, I guess, but I think we might well be in easier said than done territory there. 3. Welcome winners. 3 sides who hadn't won for a couple of weeks got very, very welcome wins yesterday to change the complexion completely of their international breaks. We are talking Plymouth, Huddersfield and Bristol City. Bristol City went to Swansea and got themselves a comeback victory, winning 2-1 with goals from Sykes and Bell. On the Championship Check-In podcast this week, we discussed these 2 wide attackers and their decent start. Can they continue to take the goal-scoring responsibilities in the absence of the injured Tommy Conway? Huddersfield fans, I can say with quite some certainty from my Twitter interactions, were definitely the most underwhelmed bunch after the transfer window. No wins on the board either. The mood could have been even more sour for the next fortnight, but up stepped Jack Rudoni to fire in a 96th minute winner, snatching all 3 points at West Brom. Boy, did they need that. And finally, last but not least, definitely not least, as they were the most comfortable winners, Plymouth. Argyle coasted in 3-0 against Blackburn at Fortress Home Park. Now, I say they coasted in, they got in front in the first half, and then with Rovers chasing, they killed it off with 2 quick-fire goals fairly late in the game. The things we outlined that Plymouth needed to take from last season's League One promotion into the Championship were that unbelievable home record and the ruthless nature of their finishing. 6 out of 7 points at home, and Ryan Hardy scoring in 4 out of 5 games so far. Sounds pretty viable to me that they're doing just that. 4. I'll be missing you. Now, this season more than ever, our playoff losers have had to say some pretty hard goodbyes. Coventry's brilliant pair of Hamer and Gyökeres out to pastures new, but plenty of cash came in. Middlesbrough's EFL Player of the Season, Akpom, out to Ajax for a nice fee, but those lovely loanees, Archer, Ramsey and Giles, haven't returned or swelled the bank account. Understandably, these two clubs are in a bit of a state of transition early this season, and subsequently wins are at a premium. Coventry drew for the third time in a row this round against Watford in a topsy-turvy 3-3 at the CBS. They did create plenty, but had to come from behind on no fewer than 3 separate occasions. The Sky Blues have, though, recruited well. We would expect a trend up soon, but so far their only win has come against, you guessed it, Middlesbrough. What a horrible start for Borough. Bottom after 5 games with just 1 point on the board. This combination of losing star players and the bulk of them being loan players seems to be killing Michael Carrick and Middlesbrough in the early going this season. Now, credit, of course, must go to QPR, who have shown signs so far this season that if you're not at it, they will come and they will take the game to you and take points off you. They left with all 3 points after a 2-0 win at the Riverside yesterday. Perhaps perceptions of Gareth Ainsworth starting to change a bit for the better now. I do expect Borough, like Coventry, to trend up soonish, but the Coventry cash-in vs the Borough loanee leavers makes me think Michael Carrick has probably got a bit more on his plate here than Mark Robbins. 5. Dynamic duo. Now, football fans, well, they love to be wise after the fact, don't they? But honestly, is there anybody anywhere in the known universe who forecast Preston North End top and Ipswich Town second in the Championship at international break number 1? No, didn't think so. Preston go top with a fabulous 13 points from 15. We picked them out on the Championship Check-In podcast, and I said, but have they had an easy run of games? Look, I'll stand down and give them the credit. Off they went to Stoke, clean sheet, Will Keane at the double, 4th win in a row. Now, I have to say, looking ahead to their September, if this Preston side stays together and the level is what we think it is, I think they might have a really chunky points total by game 10 when they head off to Leicester for the first game against any of the parachute teams this season. Well played, Ryan Lowe. And then there is my beloved Ipswich. Town experienced their first defeat at home to Leeds last weekend. And I must admit, I was getting a little bit prickly about the amount of reality check and bubble burst comments after that one. That Leeds front 4 last week does absolutely not represent the reality of the majority of Championship attacks this season. And if anything is going to burst, well, at home to Cardiff this weekend would have been a much, much more appropriate case. At 2-0 down, coming up the hour mark, I was ready to concede bubble burst, reality check cliches might actually be more appropriate than I'd thought. But this Ipswich team is so used to winning and only went and banged in 3 goals in the next 20 minutes to keep that winning run going. Now, we've spoken at length about the advantage of taking stability and winning momentum into a Championship season, and guessed that that probably lasts for about the first 6 to 10 games. So, with that being said, and going into Game 6 after the international break, we are about to find out exactly how much substance this Ipswich side has. But on the evidence of a 2-0 comeback to win 3-2, it does look a fair amount, doesn't there? There you go. That is the hot takes for another round. Get involved in the comments, especially if you were at a game yesterday. Let me know your own roasting, red hot takes. Speaking of being at a game yesterday, you can click here to see my match vlog from St Andrews as Birmingham drew 1-1 with Millwall in one of the lunchtime kickoffs, and click here to get yourself acquainted with the Championship Check-In podcast, my new longer form look at the best division in the world, live every Thursday with Sam Parkin.